I lived through a 63-cent dollar for multiple years. Am I saying that it's an ideal thing? No, it's not. You've got to, almost every Caribbean country, Mexico, United States, almost every place that you wanted to vacation that exists, it was ridiculously expensive and a lot of people stayed home.
So basically, like the two things right now that I think a lot of people are talking about the most is one is, the Fed down in the States signaling that they're not going to be lowering rates as fast as they thought they would because inflation still seems to be a little bit more elevated there. In Canada, obviously, our inflation might be under control, so they might be talking about lowering the rates a little bit earlier, which would create the devaluation of our Canadian dollar. And then also, if Trump wins, tariffs and all that kind of stuff could lead to further devaluation of the dollar. But you're saying that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not something that we should be too concerned about.
I lived through a 63-cent dollar for multiple years. Am I saying that it's an ideal thing? No, it's not. You've got to, almost every Caribbean country, Mexico, United States, almost every place that you wanted to vacation that exists, it was ridiculously expensive and a lot of people stayed home. So it's not and it's certainly there is elevation in certain prices of goods coming into the country, particularly for some food products. But by the same token, as interest rates fall, the very high component that we see in our inflation of rents and mortgage payments starts to level off and is no longer as inflationary. So there's two factors there. But what's really important to understand is another thing happened in the United States as Jerome Powell was talking about keeping rates higher for longer. In the same date, he also declared the end of quantitative tightening in the United States.
The end of the tightening.
Quantitative tightening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they are no longer taking bonds. They're in most cases, a central bank just rolls over their bonds when they come, at the end of the term. If you sell a 5-year, 10-year bond, there's bonds coming off every single week based on those dates. And in Canada, we ended quantitative tightening in Canada over, I think, 8 weeks ago. But he also announced the end of quantitative tightening in the United States, and immediately their bond market fell 5%. Their bond yields fell 5%.
Wow.
So what do you see happening? So if we do cut at some point, or when we cut at some point, what happens to the real estate market? Do people get crazy and start rushing in again? We're still seeing lineups at some of these new pre-construction subdivisions, which is nuts. But what happens when they make a cut?
Okay, so it can only be helpful. Obviously rate cuts are a good thing for real estate, not a bad thing in a general way. Sometimes it's important to understand why there's lineups at subdivisions. What do you think the state is of new construction of low-rise inventory in Ontario or British Columbia today? What do you think the state of this is houses to buy, low-rise, semis, detached, townhouses? What do you think is the level of new construction right now?
Abysmal.
Lower than what it should be.
It's horrible.
The right word was abysmal.
Yeah.
It is so low, it's ridiculous. So if you make something ridiculously scarce and somebody opens, a sales office in Windsor to sell 60 units of detached, people are driving from Toronto to buy those detached because it is phenomenally scarce product.
And it's a product people want to actually live in, right? Like these are buyers that are looking for a place. They're not necessarily investors right now. People need a roof.
There's too many investors, but at the end of the day, the scarcity, like extreme scarcity, like you look at graphs, and right now, of all types of new construction, you sort of have to segregate new construction to buy from purpose-built rentals. But if you look at it, it's like detached is like it's so low
It's
in British
ridiculous.
Columbia and Ontario that it's just almost you can't find it. It's
And
that
it
low.
doesn't make sense in the other provinces because of the final sale price, right? With the cost of construction and building the materials and everything else like that. Like, try to build a detached subdivision in New Brunswick and sell everything for $420,000 afterwards, right?
Well, their land cost is still ridiculously lower in New Brunswick. Okay, if you're selling for
Free.
420, you're selling for 420 in New Brunswick, you're making about 100 grand a unit. Because, you know, what land price still is the largest component in British Columbia and Ontario. Because the land prices in these provinces in urban or suburban areas are ridiculously elevated.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our clips channel. Why don't you go and check out some more clips? We got lots of other good content somewhere over here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.